Hello and welcome to Skuaredot's podcast. This is episode 4 and today we're gonna have a chat with Bernardo from 8000 Kicks. 8000 Kicks makes shoes out of cannabis. Yes, you heard it right. Stick around to learn more about it. So please, Bernardo, can you explain a little bit more about who you are and what is that you do?
Hey, how are you, man? Pleasure
I'm
to
doing
be
great.
here. And thanks for having me here, explaining and sharing a little bit about my project. So a little bit about me and the project. So we are the world's first waterproof hemp shoe. Hemp is something that has been reappearing in the last few years. But what is the reality is hemp has actually been together with us since 10,000 years ago. Actually, hemp comes from 8000 BC, and that's why we are called 8000 Kicks, because it's probably where the first hemp shoe came from. So we decided to honor that heritage. That's why we call 8000 Kicks. We are probably the number one shoe company that produces shoes made of hemp in the US and in Europe as well. We launched a Kickstarter campaign a while ago. We have been growing and launching new products soon, and currently we are sold out.
Cool. So what is it that makes your shoes so special?
Hemp itself is a very special material. Number one, because it's very difficult to find, and it's especially harder to find with good quality. So there is a very few available, and if you have to make it, it's even, if you have to find it and make it the way you want it, it's even harder. Also, it requires a lot of expertise, which we have been gaining over the last 2 years to manufacture. And I mean, basically, it's a new material. We are relearning how to work with it. It itself, it's very special because it doesn't exist, not anymore. I mean, it does now, right? The other thing that makes the shoes very special is the fact that hemp is very durable and also very ecological. So hemp was used to make one of Ford's car, Henry Ford. He made a car out of hemp, and it was so strong that you would bounce an axe. You know, an axe, like you cut wood with it.
Yeah.
You bounce an axe at the car, and the car wouldn't dent. It wouldn't get anything. And there is a video on our Instagram showing that. It's amazing. Also, the Portuguese and the Spanish conquerors were like going all around the world with hemp sails and hemp ropes in their ships. So hemp is really strong. Then it's also super ecological, which means it consumes 5 times less water than cotton, which is one of the biggest pollutants in the world in the fashion industry. It consumes it emits like half of the CO2 that polyester does, and a lot less than cotton as well. It restores the soils, and it's actually been using in Chernobyl. It absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere as well. So I mean, it's a really ecological material. It's a really unique, and it's a really durable material. So that's a bit. Our product is special in these 3 ways, mostly and because it uses hemp, but also it has outsoles made from algae. So you have shoes with algae bottom, which makes them super light, and I mean literally they weigh less than your phone. So that's really, that's nothing, right? And then they have the world's first hemp insoles as well. So we're talking about a vegan hemp shoe. It's a plant shoe that is super unique, and it's super durable as well, which is hard to find these days. I mean, you can make something ecological, but how long is it gonna last? And we fixed that problem.
Cool. You mentioned that hemp is hard to source. Where do you?
Yes.
How do you source your hemp?
Okay, that's a very good question. It's also a complicated one. So we buy it from many countries. Okay, let me start even like before that. When we started the project, we were looking for hemp all around the world. We bought it from like Canada, United States, Romania, France, Bulgaria, Lithuania, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Nepal, India,
Wow.
Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Mongolia, Russia. We also bought. It's like we bought from all these countries, and it sucks. But then we started noticing a few people had like, okay, these guys have good facilities. They produce good stuff. Let's. We have to redevelop the way I mean, basically they had to make custom hemp for us. They had to do it exactly the way we wanted them to. And right now we buy from three suppliers, one in France, another one in Romania, and another one in China. And we also starting with to work with some guys in the US and in the Netherlands. So it's a complicated question, but basically it's a non-ending job. We're always looking for new suppliers, new people doing cool stuff with hemp, and it's basically a struggle.
Is it what is it a struggle for like to get new drops? And so right now you're out of stock, right?
Yes.
What's why can't you make more, or what's the biggest thing that's holding you back from making another drop?
I mean, we already made it. We're just waiting for it to arrive.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So the thing is that demand has been pretty interesting. We've got people asking for our shoes, and it's hard to find, and it takes us a lot of time to pull the hemp together. So all this lead time, it basically means that we cannot manufacture in big, huge quantities. We have to make it smaller at time, and basically it takes a longer time to bring to market. But we already, I mean, we sold a little bit faster than we could manufacture them. So we're scaling things up, trying to step up with demand. And basically that's what we're doing. And also COVID makes harder for our logistics to operate. Shippings get delayed, etc., etc. So it's like fighting all against these issues. That's why we had to close our website for a few weeks.
Oh, okay. So how do you get the idea of let's?
Right, that's a funny question.
Yeah,
that's a funny story actually. A really funny one. I mean, look,
go.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's we were all a bit drunk and a bit high. It's the reality. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. We were like, there's no politically correct here. We were. It's a crazy idea that was born in a moment of craziness when a friend of mine came up with the idea of, hey, let's make a smokable shoe. and we were like, this is stupid, this is impossible, how can you have such a stupid idea, this doesn't make any sense. It was 5 a.m, what else could you expect, right?
Yeah.
and then we were like, okay, but no, I was like, actually I've seen hemp wallets and hemp bags, hemp backpacks. So I mean, we can try a hemp shoe, why not? And the next day I came back to my grandmother. My grandmother has over 50 years experience in textiles. So I reached out to her and said, hey grandma, can you help me do this? And she was very pissed off, telling me that you're gonna get into drugs, you're gonna get into problem. And she threw me out of the house, not literally, but kind of. She was very pissed off. She wanted to throw me out of the house, and then until like I ordered some hemp fabric, I showed her, look, this is actually hemp, this is cannabis, but it's good quality, it's fabric, it's not a drug. And then I got her trust, and she decided, how can I help you make this?
Okay, so explain a bit what's the difference between hemp and the actual drug.
Okay, I'm glad you asked that, because it's part of our daily mission to teach people. And if you check our Instagram, we're always posting curiosities about it. So hemp, so first, everything is, I mean, hemp is cannabis. Hemp is a subtype of cannabis. It's a sativa branch. And basically what we have is an industrial variety of the sativa branch. So in other words, we have we pull the we pull the fiber out of the tree trunk. It grows in height instead of like, it's optimized to grow taller instead of optimized to grow and to bloom flowers so that you can dry them and smoke it. It's different variety. So as it's so strong, it's because the plant it can reach up to 3 meters. And when you pull the fiber, it's a very long fiber. Cotton is very short. Hemp, otherwise, the fibers can reach up to 3 meters. And as I was saying, as you peel it off the trunk, it makes it very good for these industrial appliances. That's we call it industrial hemp. You also have hemp oil and hemp like CBD and stuff like that. But what we use is hemp for industrial purposes, which is completely legal in everywhere in the world. I mean, we sold these shoes to people in Saudi Arabia, in Singapore. These countries are very strict. And in China as well, they is very strict in terms of drugs. And we don't have any problem at all with this because it's completely legal. There's no issues at all.
Yeah, which is a question that I've seen come up on your page quite a few times, which is will they stop me at the airport when I'm traveling?
Yes, that's a very funny question we get asked a lot. My answer for them is no. And check our Instagram, you can see a picture of us with the police. We gifted a lot of masks to the police in Portugal, the US as well. And they understand what we're doing. They know it's industrial hemp. They are actually, although there's a lot of misinformation, the police knows what is industrial hemp. And we never had any problems. I mean, not everyone in the government knows what is industrial hemp, but the police knows. I mean, I'm not going to say everyone in the police knows, but the police officers we have engaged with, they know what we are using, and they make jokes about it, and they understand that it's legal, and they understand what we're doing is completely fine. So no, not a problem at all.
What about the soles made of algae? Can you explain?
Okay, that's a recent development that we launched with a new version of shoes. Previously, our shoes were made of recycled rubber, but they were a bit heavy. So we decided, how can we reinvent the way we make the outsoles? How can we change the materials? How can we do something different? So we decided to, instead of using recycled rubber, we decided to use. This actually came as some guys reach out to us and say, hey guys, you want to make the shoes using this material that we're collecting. This company is called Bloom Foam. They collect algae from like small portions of water, like bodies of water, like lakes, rivers, but mostly sea, like local beaches. This algal blooms can really damage the environment. So what we do is they collect the algae, they dry it, and they send it to our facility where we transform it into algae plastic that we use to make our shoes. The reason why is, algae is it's an interesting material. It's also very light. So, we decided let's make it extra plant shoe.
Yeah.
And let's put algae into it. And the results were pretty interesting. We're like, oh, this is actually super light. Let's use it. Let's use it let's do it. Let's use it in the shoes. And then we launched it and people were like, wow, this is crazy. This is super light. And it was a success. They're sold out. So I guess people really like the algae as well.
Yeah, of course. How's the process of trying to make something out of a new material that you've never worked with?
To be honest, it's a tough question. I will explain the process not only for algae, but to anything we try out. In most cases, it's not a straight line. It's a lot of trying and error, and then you discover what works, and you decide if it's a good material or not. We've tried many things before. But sometimes it doesn't work, so we have to drop it. The thing is, we are always open. A lot of companies reach out to us and we just reply and say, let's try it out. If it doesn't work, at least we know it doesn't work. But until we try it, we don't know. So that's a little bit the perspective here. I mean, we try with algae, but we also try with a lot of things. So we always
what other
like
things have you? Sorry for interrupting. What other things have you tried, and that
we've
didn't work?
tried we've tried mixing rubber with plastic. We've tried recycled plastic. We've tried the recycled rubber, as I've said already. We've doing experiments with still with the natural materials like cork, or like sugarcane. We're doing more with natural latex. I mean, it's a never-ending process. I can give you a full list of things we have trying, but it takes a long time, and then we have to do tests on the product. Abrasion tests, which basically means we have to test if the soles perform as well as expected, and if they have the traction that they need to, if they can walk like 20,000 steps without having like with minimal abrasion on the shoes, like the soles remain intact in a good shape after 20 steps. I mean, we have folding tests, we have scratching tests where we scratch it with a machine to make sure that it lasts for a long time. So I mean, not all components survive these tests, and that's why we have to keep working on things to improve it. You can see actually on our TikTok and our Reels and Instagram, you can see some of the tests we have been doing over time. Even with hemp, we have a machine a press that pushes hemp apart, tears hemp apart to understand how much kilos can it hold before tearing apart. So I mean, all these experiments, I mean, it's part of our process of development, and that's why it takes us so long to launch something. It needs to be properly done. Otherwise, we see what happens with other companies when customers receive the shoes, and after 6 months, they are completely destroyed.
Yeah, I will definitely check out your videos. I'm interested in watching how you test your shoes. And what about the steps? Because you mentioned 20,000 steps. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How do you test that?
We have a machine that basically folds the shoes 20,000 times, and after 20,000 times, we inspect if the shoe is still in a proper state, or if it's completely destroyed, or sometimes in the middle, right? But we have to understand, okay, 20,000 steps, is this okay or not? And then if yes, then we have a potential material to be used. If not, we have to go back to the drawing board.
How do you make your shoes different from other shoes out there, other than the hemp?
Well, that is basically our biggest differentiation, right? I mean, our shoes are itself, the materials are the biggest differentiation, but also the fact that they are waterproof. And this is something that we wanted to transmit to other companies. It's not just an eco-friendly company. It's a company that focus on making superior footwear, not because they're only ecological, but because they also have superior features. So our shoes are antibacterial and antimicrobial. The super lightweight is also an important feature, but the fact that they are waterproof, they are very anti-slip. So I mean, it's like having a super shoe that has all the important features you want, but it's also eco-friendly and super durable. It's like what we try to transmit our customers are, you're not paying for an eco-friendly shoe, you are paying for a shoe that it was redesigned from the ground up to make hemp great again. Why? Because it's superior not only in terms of features, but because of its eco-friendliness as well. We spend a lot of time making this one shoe to make sure that it's perfect.
I believe this is a question that comes up frequently. How do you make it waterproof? I'm confused about waterproof or splash proof.
Okay, that's a good question. So we have both. So they are splash proof in the way that they have a coating, and it repels all splashes from the shoe, right? So basically, the coating is a wax that we develop that is organic. We embed the wax in the hemp. And when the hemp receives water droplets or dust, basically it repels them. I mean, of course, this also comes with a membrane. That's why we call it waterproof. The membrane protects the shoe from extra. I mean, if you pull a lot of water into the shoe, sometimes some humidity gets in. With this membrane, we prevent that from happening. So we have a double waterproofing system here: the membrane and the coating. That's why we call it splash proof and waterproof.
Oh, okay, great. So it's both.
Okay, I guess we have to explain better on our communication.
How does the membrane and the wax affect how breathable the shoe is?
Okay, that's a very good question. It does affect a little bit. However, hemp is also temperature regulating. That's why it's used in construction. They are, of course, breathable, but less breathable than a shoe that wouldn't have the membrane. Full transparency here. So if you run with them, or if you do extremes, I mean, if you sweat a lot with the shoes, I mean, if you use the shoes in really warm weather, they might get a little bit too hot. So we normally don't advise using the shoes above like 35 degrees Celsius. It's a very versatile pair of shoes, but it doesn't replace. I mean, if you're running, it doesn't replace running shoes, and it doesn't replace flip-flops when it's too hot. It doesn't replace winter boots as well. So
Yeah.
full transparency here. It affects a little bit the breathability, but I mean, it's a pair of sneakers. You cannot use them if it's too hot. It will get your feet a little bit too hot.
Well, I mean, 35 degrees. At least to me, that's very hot. No.
Yes, that's true. That's correct. I mean, with that temperature, I mean, but you're from Spain, and I'm originally from Portugal as well. So as you can imagine, that temperature is pretty much every summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it happens, and when that happens, you just use a pair of flip-flops or sandals or something lighter.
Exactly. Or you just don't get out of home.
That's true.
So you are based in the US, right? Or in Portugal?
Yes, both. We are a Portuguese American company.
Okay.
I am currently doing this podcast from Portugal because, we're kind of stuck here. But we have team in the US as well, so we work with in both ways.
Yeah, because I was initially I thought maybe you were shipping from Portugal, and I was surprised by your shipping times. But are you manufacturing in the US or China or Portugal? Where are you manufacturing?
We manufacture in Portugal and China, and then we have a fulfillment center in Portugal and one in the US.
US.
Which means
Okay.
that if you are in Spain, we ship you from Portugal. Within in 2-3 days, you have your product. And if you are in the US, we also have a fulfillment center in California, and we ship as well very fast. Like, if you are in California, you get it in 24 hours, 48 hours. If you are in Florida, you might have to wait like a week. Unless you pay express shipping, of course.
A week is not a long time. I mean,
then it's completely fine.
I think when people think about shipping and shopping online, more than a week, they start to think it's maybe too long. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in the whole process?
I mean, definitely the harder one was to supply hemp, to get hemp in decent amounts and good quality. That was a big struggle. Eventually, we found the good partners that helped us make this happen. Until we found it, it was complicated.
Yeah. So I would say one final question: what would you advise someone that wants to start their own company or like a shoe brand, whatever?
I mean, it's the best advice that I would give them. It's prepare for the worst, because it's really a bumpy ride. And to be honest, at this point, I'm like, I don't know what else could happen to us. I mean, I really have some crazy stories with everything. I mean, I mean, financial problems that you have to overcome. Suddenly you don't have money, you have production, you have delays, you have COVID, you have the custom gets your hemp because they think you're trafficking drugs. It's crazy. And then financial problems don't help. People have less money. Demand for shoes has been reduced. I mean, but I would say the best advice is perseverance. You are going to fail. You are going to fail really hard, but you have to understand that before you start, so that when you are halfway through the process and things are going terribly wrong, you are able to say, okay, this is just supposed to be like this. It's because things went horribly wrong many times with us, and I mean really terribly wrong. We were many times close to closing our company, and we're just 2 years old. So I mean, it's really complicated to start a company. So perseverance, it's like just take one step at a time, guaranteeing things are good. Continue working, continue doing your job, and fighting. That's it.
And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. See you next Friday.